Works. Aha. That'll do. That'll do. Right, well, we're back. We're live again in the middle of a carbon copy cloning sesh. So I thought I'd just go live to test some few things. I've buggered up the computer a minute ago. So unfortunately, I had to do a backup from the original session, the original disk. Sorry, what am I talking about? I had to boot into the clone drive, and now I'm re-copying back from the clone to my system because I installed some software the other day and it buggered it up. So I had to redo it, and I'm waiting for the carbon copy cloner app to finish cloning the drive back over. So far I've done about 213 gig, 215 gig. So yeah, let's see how that works. Well, how's everyone doing in the land of the tube? Oh dear. Right, let's see. I can mute that. Can I mute this still? Can I? Seems that everything's going a bit wonky at the moment. That's better. Right, okay. So we'll get rid of that. Okay, that works. Okay, that works. Right, everything seems to be working, which is fabby-dabby-doozy. That's great. Lovely. Right, so, not sure how everyone's doing. Still copying. Oh God, Logic's opened. Right, so how's everyone doing? So I'm cloning over. You can see I'm cloning over from the clone drive. What's gone in here? What's gone on here? Oop. 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 Better. Right. So right, that's better. Doing some tweakerage. So yeah, not sure how's everyone going. Not sure how it's all working, but I'm doing a clone. So yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna be online today. I was streaming today. The cat's asleep behind me on the chair. Yeah, out of sight. Out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind. Go blimey, governor. Right, lovely. Right, well, so far we've got one viewer. That would be me. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Saying thank you to myself. So let's see how we are set today with Christ. Got a bit of likes on me roasty dinner, which is quite good. It's quite nice. That was lovely. I actually made the bone from the leg into some soup, which was rather nice. So we had the full-on roasty dinner, and with the bone, we basically after the dinner we had for lunch the next day we had wraps. We had some wraps. So basically ripped all the remaining meat off the bone and chopped it into bite-sized cubes, put it in a bowl, and then got some lettuce, sliced, fried mushrooms with chili peppers. Not chili peppers, but like dried chili spice. And the rest of the roast potatoes and carrots that were left over. And then we made wraps for lunch, which was very nice. A bit of mayonnaise, rolled them up, about 30 seconds in the microwave just to take the chill off. And it was very lovely. And then the following day, that evening, we put the bone in some water and made a soup. So that lamb dinner was very, very successful, I think. So yeah, welcome along on a school night. How about that? So I've been basically talking to myself for the past 10 minutes, just basically saying that I unfortunately messed up my boot drive on my system by installing a piece of software that hijacked my capture card by not letting OBS take the audio from the system and pass it through to OBS. So what that means is if I was to play a piece of music on the screen or watch a YouTube video or anything like that, you wouldn't be able to hear it, which was annoying. Luckily, when I built this system, a friend of mine said, who's previously had one for a few years, because this is a Hackintosh, not a genuine Mac, it's a kind of hacked one, which I'll go into in another time if you would like. Basically, he did say, whatever you do, when you've put the system drive in, put another drive in, identical size, and just use that as a clone. So whatever you do, clone the boot drive, and then every time you install something, check everything works, then re-clone the boot drive, just so in the off chance you actually mess it up, you can clone back. You can boot into the clone drive because it makes it a bootable drive, which means I can boot into both drives. So that's great. So all the operating system, and of course, if you mess up the operating system, you've got things like audio loops are missing, and Photoshop suddenly doesn't open, and it's just a pain in the ass. Anyway, so basically I've installed this board that I'm using, the motherboard, actually takes two NVMe drives. So what that means is I can have dual boot. I've set it up as dual boot. So I've got one NVMe drive for let's get a picture up on the screen. That'll be nice, won't it? Right, so this is the Designer Z390, if I remember rightly. The 390 basically indicates the there's a nice picture, we'll just use that one, shall we? The 390 stipulates the chipset. So it's an Intel chipset because it's an Intel where are we? It's not on here, is it? Right, let's go to images. Yeah, it was. I tell you, that lamb was a great buy. It was actually from. I've just got to let the cat out. Yeah, that leg of lamb was ordered on eBay from. I think it was from Xinjiang or Urumqi in the Muslim area. So it came in a frozen. It came frozen, and. I want to get a picture of this motherboard up to show you, see if it's a fairly decent one. Right, that's not a bad one. Let's use that. Anyway, right. So. Yeah, there we go. Christ, look, we're faffing about all over the place. I'm actually doing a what's it at the moment? Let's just right. Okay, so this is my motherboard. It's not the cheapest motherboard you can buy, but I bought it because it's basically a creative Thunderbolt 3. It's got Thunderbolt built in. It's an Intel chipset, so it takes Intel chips, obviously i9. I think it'll do an i7 as well. The socket is like 11 something. This isn't Linus Tech Tips, but yeah, you know what I mean. And these slots here, these little that silver one and that black one, they take an NVMe drive. I think they're still on the SATA bus, so they're not super M.2 speed. I think it's still a SATA bus, but it's still okay. And then these are all your SATA plugs here for your normal hard drive. I know it is a SATA bus because when you've used 2 of these slots, then 2 of these plugs become redundant. So you have to mix and match. So I've basically got 1 terabyte for my Mac and 1 terabyte for Windows. Then I have a couple of external SSDs because they're cheaper. You could have gone all external SSD if you want. You don't need to mount to the board, but these are slightly faster, and they're coming down in price all the time. And I've got basically the same size 1 terabyte drive for this, which acts as my clone, which is slightly slower. So once I've booted from my clone, I always copy back to the NVMe because it will be faster read-write speeds. And then on another drive, I have a 2 terabyte SSD, which is formatted to exFAT, which means that Windows partition and the Mac partition can both read off this drive, which is very handy. So what that means is I can copy stuff to this drive, and when I boot to the Windows, this drive is visible. If it's a Mac drive, it isn't, because of the file systems and how they work. I've got all the RAM slots full. I've got 64 gig of RAM. You don't need that much, but I just thought, well, whatever, just fill it all in. And I've got a water-cooled, liquid-cooled heatsink on top of the thing going to the front of my system. And again, this just bolts in. You've got your VGA, your graphics card goes in this slot here. Recommended to put in the first slot. Kind of annoying because my graphics card, or most graphics cards today, are double width. It covers up this PCI slot. This is a PCI half slot and this is a PCI full slot. Now things like Bluetooth cards, and I've got a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi card which has to be put in because on the Apple side it doesn't recognize the built-in Bluetooth card. This white square here is a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi card, and there's 2 cables that run across, and they basically go to these SMA connectors at the back, which you screw in a couple of antennas to. So these are your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antennas, which basically clip onto this tiny board. Now this board is not readable by the Mac. It's not supported. It's a different chipset. So you have to buy an external little card with another board on, and it clips into one of these ports. Now obviously this one's not free because it takes up, there's not enough room to put it in, so you've got to use this one. So it means that if I wanted to put another capture card in, like a video capture card, I'd have to get a full-sized, I'd have to use one of the full-size PCI slots. And again, it's a bit of a waste because I only need that many. I don't need the full width. So anyway, whatever, first world problems. The other thing I don't like about this board is it's only got one USB header on it. These little tiny pins that come out here at the bottom, these are headers. So this lot here will connect to the front part of the computer for the lights, the on and off switch, the reset switch, blah blah. Normally on the front of a computer case you have a separate USB plug at the front. Let me just shut the door. I've just let the cat in again. So what that means is, if you want to plug something in the front of the drive, then in the front of the case, you have to connect it to one of these headers. Because obviously these USBs are actually soldered onto the board directly. So these, these are actually at the back of the computer. If you want something at the front, you've got to connect it to here. So unfortunately, this Bluetooth card needs to use that plug. So I'm only able to use the USB 3 socket, which I think is one of these. It's slightly longer. So yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about this board. But other than that, it's brilliant. It's a great supported board. It's about 250 quid. It's not cheap, but it's really good. And it's a solid, heavy board. And again, it's compatible with the Hackintosh, which is what I need. So yeah. And then obviously you can mix and match your CPU, you can mix and match your RAM. It's all natively supported. I bought a graphics card that was natively supported. It's the same card that's in the new iMac, the 5700 XT, which is the same chipset. Doesn't look the same physically, but it's the same chipset. And basically the only difference is they strap a massive heatsink on it and have fans on it, because the only thing you have to worry about with computers is the heat. So if you can get good cooling in your computer, then you can really crank it up and start to do some good professional work on it, which I'm not doing. I'm just talking to you. Yay. So yeah, that was my thinking with that. And of course, obviously, so far I'll give it up. What do you mean the destination is full? Okay, right, I'll have to go back to that tomorrow because I don't want to bugger it up tonight. So what else has been going on? I've got a couple of games that I've installed, one called Mafia and one called Death Stranding. My god, these games are awesome. Jesus, really, really good. 146 gigabytes per game. It's like, wow. That's a lot of space. So I've got, as my kind of files drive is almost full already. You install like 7 or 8 games and that's 500 gig. So it's like, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, I mean, have we had any luck with the post office? These little buggers, I tell you, apparently I called them up. I called them up on, when was it, Friday? And they said, oh, the package left the country on the 30th of September. And I'm like, left in what? A blooming dinghy? Because she showed me the flight manifest, and I've actually got the flight number of the plane that it left on, and they said that the English side, they haven't updated the system, so therefore the parcel, we don't know where it is yet, but it's definitely left the country. and it definitely left by plane. So in theory, it would have arrived on the 2nd of October, and it's now the 27th of October. So that's a month. So it's probably sitting somewhere in customs somewhere, and probably somebody doesn't know where it is. Now I can actually track it if I put this down. If I do another one. Okay, let me just put that there. Boof. Live tracking. Right, so if I track it from this side using EMS, EMS is like the government version of Parcel Force for China. It's the thing. This is your consignment number, which I've been doing. There's my I'm not a robot thing. There we go. Right. And as you can see, delivered to carrier for transportation on the 29th of September, boarded the airline on the 30th of September, and that was the last we heard of it. So if I go and copy this waybill, and if I start to do a parcel, excuse my spelling, and I'll as I say, I'll put it in the where are we? Right, let's just do this. Parcel Force, Royal Mail. Let's try that. Alright, there'll be a tracking what's it in here. I think this is Parcel Force Worldwide. I think it is. Right. Track my parcel. Where's the tracking? Where's the tracking? Yeah, I mean, obviously there might be some things affected by so where's the tracking thing? Royal Mail. Let's see if it's Royal Mail. Right. Track an item. Right, here we go. So this is the item tracked on the UK side, and it shows through because they're basically using the post office to send it. So this is using Parcel Force delivery. So let's go to Parcel Force, and it says exported, but it hasn't arrived in the UK, or either it has arrived in the UK but it hasn't been processed, which to me doesn't make sense because it's it was exported on the 29th of, or on the 30th of October. September, 30th of September. Now, what that means, what that could mean, is that they haven't put it on a plane. They've put it on a ship. But they assure me that they've put it on a plane because I saw the flight number. Although I did see the flight number for the flight it was supposed to be on. Now, whether it was barcoded in as exported and then it might have gone through an X-ray and somebody somewhere might have said, oh, there's some dodgy stuff in here, we can't put it on the plane, so let's just put it to one side and it can go by sea, and it would still be counted as exported, but obviously the ship is going to take a month and a bit. So I thought that it might be possible Uh, yeah, well, like I said, I'm tracking it from basically from the website. And it's, this is the parcel number, the consignment number, and it shows up as exported, but it hasn't showed up as arrived in the UK. So the number's in the system. So basically, what I want to do is, if you call them up tomorrow and just explain the situation. And it might be in a pile somewhere that somebody's put it in for COVID testing or something. I don't know. But at least they can check that the plane arrived and the parcel got taken off, but it hasn't been officially checked into the UK, kind of thing. Anyway, I don't know. But I'm hoping that if you give them a ring and enough, because I called about 7 or 8 people here, and they've been calling me back, and because I've been like complaining, if you like, and red lights have been going on somewhere. A little red light has shined up on somebody's dashboard to say this bloke has lost his parcel. So they have. I actually got a call back from the woman that actually worked in the place that I shipped it from, and she showed me all the paperwork to say that it went off and the flight number and stuff like that. So if you could give them a call tomorrow when you've got time, and maybe we might get some answers. Because it's annoying, because obviously the shipping, because I said to the woman that was on the phone, I said, look, I wouldn't have minded, but I did pay for it to be express delivered, and it cost a lot of money to be express delivered, probably more than what the contents are worth. But again, that's not the point, because the whole point of it was to get the stuff to you and have it in your hands. That's the whole point of it, right? So, but the other problem is I can't. They're telling me that it left, so their side of the job is done, because it got on the plane and it left, but it just hasn't been swiped in the other side. So whether it has been lost somewhere, but hopefully, if I can make enough alarm bells ring, then I can start making some complaints and get, if the part, I'm not too bothered about the contents, because we can just reorder all that. It was a bit of a pain to get it all delivered. That takes about a week, but it's all here. It's not a problem. My main problem is making sure I get some kind of credit, so I can, if the parcel is lost, I can ship out another one and get it sorted, because but again, judging by the state of the UK at the moment, it's hard to know exactly what they're doing with things like deliveries from from other countries or whatever. So anyway, as I say, the biggest problem for me is that it's been zapped out of the country by the looks of it, but it hasn't been zapped in again. So whether it got lost in transit, or whether it's just sitting in a fumigating place somewhere, we shall see. When's your turbos getting sorted, by the way? When's your turbo time? When's that getting all done? So yeah. Oh, I've got some mince pies arriving tomorrow. Yeah, like I said, I was expecting a delay this side because of the October the 1st was the national holidays, so I wasn't expecting the parcel to go before October the 1st. So yeah, but having a parcel take 27 days by air that's something a bit strange. But anyway, hopefully it's in a warehouse somewhere, waiting to be steam cleaned. Like I said, I had to ask. They did ask me what's inside it. So that's why I made that PDF, just to let people know that there's nothing of any consequence in it. And also as well, the parcel, the sender and the shipper are both in communication with each other, so there's no messing about. So yeah, that's the only thing we can do. Yeah, okay, tomorrow morning. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be something easy, like a stuck, gummed up valve, rather than a. I have seen on the Audi. I don't know if you watched the Car Wizard, right? Hoovie's Garage, that bloke, the American bloke. He did a turbo replacement on a Audi. I think it was a Q7. Or it could even have been a Land Rover, but I don't think it was. No, the Land Rover he had had the HVAC problem. Had a leaky air conditioning radiator, and it was behind the dash. So they had to take out everything. It was a thing to get to this blooming thing, but $3,000 it cost. Scott Brown, yeah, I love Scott Brown's mix of my tune. That's a different subject from Out of the Blue. Yeah, Scott Brown's mix was amazing. I did like Paul Elstack's mix as well, but Scott Brown was, he did some awesome tunes, man, on his Twisted label. He was absolutely smashing it back in the day. But yeah, he did a great remix of my Brainwash track. I think it's around somewhere. You can find it on the tube. Let me try and find it for you, and I'll put the link in the chat, so you can have a listen. I'm having a brain fart. Do apologise. There we go. Scott Brown's Twisted Vinyl Mix. There you are. A bit of background music. We did make a few back in the day. Basics, yeah, I remember them. When because we went to How I Met Scott, because when we did the original track, it was Big Up North. That track was Big Up North. So we actually went to Northern Ireland, and we had a friend who was doing some. He just moved to. I would say, was it Falkirk or Glasgow? I can't remember. Anyway, he just moved there, and he said, "Oh, come up and do some shows." So I said, "Okay." So we actually drove up in a transit van back in the day, and we met Scott in one of the shows, because I think he was doing a gig there, and obviously I got chatting to him, and he said, "Oh, I'd like to remix your track." And I said, "Well, funny you should say that, because we were putting out a remix of it." So we did a four track EP, remix EP. A little bit like flogging a dead horse, but why not? It was good, because that track, everyone just loved it, and I thought, okay, well, the other tracks on the 12-inch didn't really do that much, but Brainwash just went mental for some reason, because it was just right time, right place, right up, especially for the northern scene. So that track, obviously, I met a guy who lived down the road from where I used to live in Sussex, in Horsham, and it was Carl Cox. It was Carl Cox's place. And he used to live in Horsham, which is down the road from where I used to live, which is not far from Gatwick Airport. So I went to see him, and this was Darian Kelly. And Darian Kelly happened to be working for Carl as his kind of booking assistant and studio assistant. And he was very good friends with Paul Elstak from Holland. So that's how we got the Darian Kelly and Paul Elstak remix. So that was how that did. And yeah, well, I mean, Old School Nights in Glasgow, I mean, you can't go wrong. That's two things you can't go wrong with there. We actually played the Barrowlands in Glasgow, which was mental, because it was an under-18s event in the Barrowlands, and it was about 5 p.m. we turned up, and we were like, oh, this is going to suck. And it was mental. And Scooter was there as well. Scooter, how much is the fish? So yeah, that was those days. Darian, I haven't seen Darian for years. Honestly, after that track, everyone kind of just whoosh went on their different ways, you know. So yeah, it was. But the best mix, I do enjoy the. Yeah, well, as I say, I didn't know much about the names of the places because we were just shuffled around from place to place during that time because we were just riding the wave. To be honest, we didn't make any money on the record sales, but we made money on the events. But then that's the same as what it is now, right? Nobody makes music to make money anymore. But yeah, so we did the you know what, I still have the video of the Barrowlands event that we did. I've still got that video, so I might put that up if you're interested. And then we did the Tuxedo Princess as well. That was a great little event, but that was more kind of like a club on a boat doing a hardcore night, which some of those kind of events can be hit or miss, because it was kind of like they were not really the right venue, but they were trying to do it anyway, because it was just like, you know, bums on seats, right? Good old promoters back in the day. Yeah, but I think the best one we did was we did a couple of ones in Essex. We did Clacton Pier. That was a good one. Anyway, I think I can't. Well, obviously we weren't on the dance floor, but yeah, it was kind of mental. I remember it being a bit weird. But it was, you know, we were in and out. The worst gig that we had was in Northern Ireland. Well, we did two. We did one more in Scotland, and I can't remember the name of it. It was in a huge. It was almost like Stearns in Worthing, but it was like a stately home, kind of castle-ish, gothic-y, kind of old school ballroom. If that makes any sense. But so what happened then is we drove all the way up to get to that gig. It was the winter, so I can't remember if it was either December or January, but it was bloody freezing, and we hired a transit van, and we drove all the way, because we used to, you know, we lived down south, right? So we drove from sort of South London all the way down to, I think it was Portsmouth. I can't remember. It was the ferry Stranraer to somewhere else. I can't remember. Somewhere to Stranraer. But anyway, we had to drive up north, get the ferry, and jump across to Northern Ireland. Right now, we were driving up halfway where we should have been, and we suddenly realised we're not going to make this ferry. So we were like, "What should we do?" Because I was with the other guys in the group, Bob, and who I haven't seen for years, and so so anyway, we drove up and we thought, "Well, shit, we got to cross over." So we crossed over to Southern Ireland. We caught that ferry. I think we did a small U-turn and we just went to Portsmouth or one of the other port. My geography is terrible. Jesus moly. Hang on. Let me try and find out where we were. It's ridiculous. Blimmin' ridiculous. Right. Here we go. Let's see where we were. So we were trying to go to Portrush, Kelly's, very famous place in Northern Ireland, which is right up on the top here. Right, so we were trying to go to Kelly's. So we were trying to cross. I'm trying to work out where we were trying to cross. We were supposed to cross somewhere along here. Whether it's Barrow-in-Furness or somewhere, I can't remember. But we ended up going into Wales, and we crossed. I think we crossed at one of these ports, and we did a whether we did one of these to Dublin. But anyway, it turns out that instead of driving from all the way up the M6, is that the M6? Yeah. Instead of driving up the M6 and going across to where is that? Ballymena? Somewhere along those lines. And then driving up all the way, because this was all the way up here. Where is it? There's Portstewart there, Portrush. So right up there. So we were supposed to go from somewhere like here to Stranraer or somewhere like that. Oh, there we go. This is where we were supposed to go. Stranraer to Learn, right? So this is where we were supposed to get the ferry from here, go across to there, and then up to Portrush, right? This is, don't forget, we're in the back of we're in a transit van that we've hired because we've got all our gear in the back because it was a live gig, so we had all the keyboards, everything, all the DAT machines, the whole shebang, right? So we were coming from this area, so we got up to here, and then we suddenly realised we're not going to make this ferry, so we crossed over here. We crossed over. I think we crossed over to Dublin. And then we drove up. We drove up the coast all the way up. But it turns out that obviously Southern Ireland is not part of the UK, is it? So we weren't insured on the van. We didn't know that. So anyway, we gets to Portrush, and Portrush. I don't know if you've heard of Portrush. It's quite a very famous club in there. It's basically part of this golf club, and I think it's part of the golf club, and there's this place called, if I remember, Kelly's, a place called Kelly's in Portrush in Northern, Portrush in Northern Ireland. It's a small seaside town, and I don't know if it's even on the map anymore. Anyway, it was called Kelly's, and you could see the sea from it. And we arrived at about 2:00. There was a little guest house on the side. It was a pub and a small kind of... It was one of these places that was used for wedding venues, you know? One of those kind of places. So never getting paid has never been a problem for me. I mean, luckily, because we didn't do that many gigs. So it was a case of, if you pay us, we'll come. If you don't, we won't. So there wasn't a case of, come down, it's going to be great, and I'll see if I can get you on. I mean, gone are those days. But I had a couple of DJ gigs in South London along those lines. Oh yeah, I'll pay you tomorrow. Yeah, all right. but you learn your lesson. But those kind of gigs you do for fun anyway, right? And there's kind of gigs that you do for fun, and there's a kind of gig that you do for money. Now, obviously, this gig that we were doing, it's a long old trek from here to here, driving on the road, in the freezing weather, and also making sure we had to meet a sound check deadline. And luckily, we got there in the afternoon, and we arrived at 3:00, and we were playing that same night. And a lot of people were looking forward to us being there, because during that time, this was like 93, 94. They're built Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. There were still, they just signed the peace treaty. So when we went there, obviously we arrived in the place, and we went through to the kind of live area, and we said, we're here to do the sound. Oh, right. And the bloke from Kelly's, the promoter, he's like 6'6", skinny bloke. I've forgotten his name, but he was a bit of a legend. I think after Kelly's, they did a couple of like Pete Tong, kind of, it went a bit Pete Tong, Radio 1-ish, Pasha kind of vibe, but that was about the early 2000s. So anyway, we were doing the sound check, and this old fella came up, like, what's it in his mouth, like a roll up, yellow fingers, and half a pint of Guinness. Typical cliche Irishman. And he's like, well, now, fella, what do you think of the peace in Ireland? And I'm like, sorry? What do you think about the peace? What do you think about the peace in Ireland? And they were really, because for them it was a real big thing. The fact that they all of a sudden decided not to, blow each other up. And it was like a big thing. So, of course, we were the first Southerners, if you like, to go up there since this treaty had been signed. So it was quite a big event. We didn't really think anything of it. So, of course, 15,000 people, yeah. 20 notes. 16 and Famous, there you go. I think MTV's got a TV show called 16 and Famous, isn't it? Or that's 16 and Pregnant, one of the two. Yeah, back in the day, those were the days. I mean, it depends. If you had expenses and, you needed to pay bills, then as long as you knew those were being paid for, then the rest was just a bit of a crack, wasn't it? So and again, it's the same in any business, in this business. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. So it's very, like I said, the old cliche, be nice to the people on the way up, because you're going to see them again on the way down. That is very true. I can tell you that now. And you see a lot of people, and you see a lot of arseholes, and you see a lot of really cool people, and you basically keep the cool people around, and then you up the arseholes off. So that's kind of what we did. So, yeah, back in the day. But yeah, so anyway, we did the show, and it was packed, absolutely chonker, and it was just like, wow. And I thought, okay, before the sound check, after the sound check, we're going to go to the next door and then just mellow out, have a meal, and then get some kip. And about 10 o'clock, we'll go on and sit in the green room and get ready for our set, kind of thing. So of course it's about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm lying on the bed trying to get. I'm absolutely ruined. Just like the drive and the whole thing. We'd been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd left at like 3 in the morning to get to this ferry at like 7 to get over it. Anyway, we were just mush. So, and of course, my mobile starts ringing, and it, back in the day, it was like ring, 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 ring. Oh, have you got a guest list for tonight? And I'm like, oh God. And then I started having to arrange the guest lists and everything. because all of a sudden I got all these new friends that I'd never heard or seen of in the past that wanted to come to the show. So I had to arrange all that. So, of course, it got to 7 o'clock and I was like, I still hadn't had a sleep. So it was just not pleasant. And, of course, back then, I didn't drink or do anything. So it was very much a case of just like, oh, I want to sleep. Definitely a laugh. Another story, when we, on the same tour, we drove also in the same freezing weather. We had our DAT machine. We did the show off a DAT machine. Right, we had a backing track, and then we used to play live on the top with a sync code running through to keep all the synths in time. Right, so we used to do it like that, kind of like what the Prodigy does or used to do. We started the same time as Liam, so we kind of grew up with him. Also, Platypus and Platypus Records when they signed Robert Miles. Yeah, back in the day. Anyway, when did I do a hardcore gig? Jesus. Well, I moved to China in 1997. No, sorry, 96. So I was doing club gigs from 96 until pretty recently. So yeah, I haven't been the kind of doing the music and then keep going, doing reminiscing gigs, old school gigs. I haven't done any, because I wasn't in the UK, and the sort of music that was popular here was very much your kind of European techno, hardcore, but not hardcore as we know it in the UK. More of a techno vibe. Kencraft 400, and that kind of. Those tracks were huge over here. Zombie Nation, that kind of stuff. Whereas I used to be playing James Brown is Dead and Hit House and all R&S and stuff like that back in the UK. But then I left the UK and moved here. So, like with any partnership or with any band, you have issues and you end up just like, all right, forget it. And that's what happened with, we had some arguments in the band, and some people's egos thought they were more talented than other people, and it was a case of, right, well, you get on with it, then I'm going to go over here. And that's what happened. But yeah, so, God dear, excuse me while I have a slurpy drink. Hang on. Oh, that's better. So yeah, that's Tim's story time. But yeah, so well, it's nice of you to come on, David, and bring me back to memory lane. All these old school stories from back in the day. I've never been much for one of the old school stuff. I did have. I've still got all the records and things like that. All the tunes that I used to play, I've still got them. But I always like to see the new stuff, because I don't think a lot of the stuff has aged very well. The memories of it is really good, but when you hear it back, you think, Christ, this is crap. How did this ever get printed? But that's always the way, isn't it? And again, now with the technology, I've always been into music technology and stuff. Obviously, being a producer, I've always kept up with the tech and being a bit of a nerd. That's basically what we were back in the days. We were nerds that were allowed to play tunes. That's all we were. I mean, all the best guys in the business, whether it was Liam with his synths, or whether it was Moby, or any of the guys that were doing, even Adam Sky before he went Adamski, before he went a bit nuts with the old bugle. Basically, we're all geeks, we're all nerds, we're all synth hounds. So yeah. Well, I mean, as I say, I don't know what Scott's been doing. I mean, some people have kept on with it and been really successful. Some people have just had a couple of hits and just gone on to do other things. Like I said, it's always a case of when you're hot, and when you're not, you're not. It's very much of much of that case. But also as well, I think that like with any kind of time in the industry, even now, I mean, I've got a lot of DJ friends who are now managers of artists, and they all used to be DJs. I've got a lot of lighting designers that used to be DJs, so they understand the industry, but they just haven't basically wanted to carry on with the crap, really, because it's all bullshit. The whole industry is bullshit. It's all based on bravado and but Scott, he was genuinely talented, so he would probably do very well, whether it would be producing for other people or just keeping his own vibe going. But he would have had to change with the times, because obviously the genre of music that he was doing was limited to the section of the country that he was in. So obviously, if he wanted an international hit, he would have to, you'd have to change to the kind of things that. And then again, some people just like to make the stuff that they know, and that's all they do. Fabio and Groove Rider, for example, those kind of guys. LTJ Bookham, he started the same time as we did, but they've just been very focused on a specific genre, and then just done that. Dave Clark is another one. Luke Slater, all these kind of guys. Dave Clark, Luke Slater were from my neck of the woods, but they were very much techno. And again, they've been very specific in their genres, and they've just been doing what they're doing. And then the music scene ebbs and flows. Sometimes it becomes popular, then next time it doesn't become popular. But if you're lucky, you've always got your kind of foot in the door where you can do a few gigs and pay the rent. But if you're in a group and you're famous for being in a group, and then the group splits up, it becomes a little bit different then, because Prodigy, when they had a kind of, because when I first saw Prodigy in Clacton, Liam, I heard from a friend that Liam's going to be there doing a show, and I thought, because we were doing a live set at the time, or we were just doing it, and I was looking at, I wanted to go and see Prodigy because I wanted to know what he's doing on stage, because everyone's like, oh, is Prodigy going to play live? And I thought, well, how's he going to play live? I wanted to go there because I knew he had the same gear that I had, the Ensoniq ESQ1 and the Akai S1000 and all these kind of keyboards. So he had all that set up on an A-frame, which I thought was a very good idea, because I was using keyboard stands at the time, and they weren't very stable, because every time you moved, the whole bloody thing used to rock, and all the stages weren't very solid. So that was an issue. And then, so I saw his show. Yeah, there was a couple of guys in Glasgow that had really big names as far as DJing. One of the, I can't remember this place, what it was called, but Carl Cox was on the bill. We were doing a live set with Carl Cox. Carl Cox was there, and he actually commented on our artwork. And this was also in Scotland, because he saw the artwork of the track, and he said, oh, I bought the track because of the artwork. Let me try and find this. Ensoniq. So this was basically the first keyboard I had. Was this one, the Ensoniq ESQ1, which is the same keyboard that Adamski wrote Killer on. Dong 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 dong. This, and it used to take a cartridge. It used to take a cartridge up here, and it was Steinberg did the cartridge, and you could buy sounds on the cartridge. And this was the first keyboard, and it had a it had 10. It was multi-timbral. You could have 10 sounds playing, and these were the tracks of the 10 sounds. It had a dot matrix display like a Speak and Spell, and it was not. It was It was like an early digital synth. It wasn't like a Juno 106 or one of the early old school house organs that everyone goes on about. The old house piano. It wasn't like that. It was more kind of. It was famous for being good for sequencing, because at that time, Cubase had just come out on the Atari ST. And obviously, if there's a bloke on YouTube. Look, Mum, No Computer. This is his kettle of fish. What do we have? What did I have? Right, so I had one of these. So this is what I had, the old Atari ST. Now, this was bought with the money from my first track. Now, instead of giving me money, my record company bought me this, which at the time I thought, oh wow, amazing! I get a computer to make music. But you know, it's the classic story of getting shafted by your record company. So yeah, we had some issues back in the day with that. And again, we didn't make money from the music because we just didn't know what we were doing. And it was just it was at the time when just before Napster and all that lot took over. So the sales of records were becoming less and less. So anyway, I've forgotten what I was talking about now. But yeah, so that keyboard is the same keyboard that Adam Sky used to make his Killer tracks. His number one Killer with Seal. Yeah, so that was good. Well, I did my first track on there. And then Brainwash was written on that Atari. And I basically sampled some of the tracks, some of my German, Belgium techno, and I sampled some of the Hoover sounds from there and gave it that. A lot of the problems with the tracks that we had as well is some of them just earlier. There was a couple of big tracks that were signed to Warner Brothers, and they went after us for copyright because we used the same sound, but it was kind of impossible to prove, so we kind of had to give them the royalties to it because they were going to sue us, and we couldn't fight them because we couldn't afford it. So we didn't make any money. They made the money off the track. It's kind of like a copyright claim that YouTube does now. Yeah, Ultrasonic was brilliant. There's a few guys that got on really well, and some of them got really shafted, and some of them just were too high to even care. You know, it all depends on your kind of what you were into at the time. And to be honest, I didn't really know enough about it or had enough kind of inclination to take care of it, rather than instead of just I was too focused on the job, you know, and doing the music and making sure everything was good on that respect. Whereas, because we didn't have a manager, that's the problem. We didn't have any management, so we weren't able to have somebody who was going to take care of all that for us, because we didn't have that. Because at the time of Brainwash, we weren't signed to a label. It was our own label, so we were on a P&D deal, you see. And because we were on a P&D deal, we were on our own label. Other labels didn't really want to have anything to do with us because they couldn't make any money because the label belonged to us. So the only thing they could do was license the track, which they weren't interested in doing because they wanted to have the whole package, because that's where the money is. Kind of similar to what it is today. So you know. But again, I don't regret anything that we did. I thought it was great. We had a great laugh, and of course, it set me up for what I've been doing for the past 30 odd years, which is DJing, making events, and doing live shows. So I've gone from being in front of the stage to on the stage to behind the stage. So it's gone full focus. But instead of being involved in the management side, I've been involved in the technical and production side because that's what interests me. I'm not really a people person, so I don't really do the socialising and then the kind of all love, sort of, long time no see, mwah, mwah, all that kind of crap, which is what you need to do in the day and age to get the management side sorted, to get to meet the people that you need to meet that are going to put you on the bill. And if people don't know who you are, they're not going to put you on the bill. So there's a lot of that involved. And again, you have to have that kind of skill set in order to be successful, or you have to have somebody in your team who has the skill set. And there's two ways of getting those people, in my opinion. From my experience, you either have somebody that is a very good friend and who loves you and is prepared to come along with you and be part of the group and part of the team, and to be penniless at the beginning and work towards success, or you make enough money to buy somebody that is going to work for you to do that kind of job. So either they get paid, or they do it out of love. Regardless of what it is, you need that person to do the job if you're not good at it yourself. So that's, I know a lot of DJs that are terrible DJs, but are very good at and very good at chatting up a promoter, chatting up even to the fact that, if you put me on the gig, I'll bring in 100 models to sit in your club and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's different, and there was a lot of times when DJing wasn't just about playing music. It was about how many people can you bring, how many tickets can you sell, and all that kind of stuff. So that's when the DJs that were very good at self-promotion and very good at socialising were the ones that got all the success, whereas the other ones that maybe were better DJs but were kind of, a little bit shy or whatever you call it, they would get kind of left by the wayside a little bit. But that's the business we're in, right? I think Prodigy didn't do badly. I mean, they had a reboot, didn't they, in the 2000s and the 2005s. They did they started to put their festival show together and do things like that. Groove Rider and Fabio, they did quite well. I don't know if Rat Pack were that successful. They did a lot of reminiscing gigs, and then you had. Just trying to think, but yeah, some of the legendary DJs. Like Lenny D when he did a show in Stearns. That was I got the mixtape to that, and that was like one of the most legendary gigs that was all before social media. It was like that mixtape was getting copied and going around all over. I think Ben had a copy of that, Lenny D in Stearns. That was back in the day. But yeah, I just say I don't know if anybody made money, but I think that putting on events, I think that was something that I enjoyed. We used to do the Shelley Arms before. This is well before Brainwash. This was in my previous group, NAM, and we used to do Shelley Arms, and I used to enjoy doing that because it was my own event. It was my own, people came to see us, and we were kind of like club promoters as well as producers as well as technical and everything else. So that was kind of enjoying. I did, it's enjoyable until people start taking the piss, where you end up, you're doing all the work and everyone else is getting all the glory. That kind of if that's the case, and you're in a partnership, or if you're in any kind of group and that happens, then you know that group isn't going to stay together for long. Unfortunately, the groups that have lasted and have worked well is the ones where everyone knows their place and everyone knows and respects each part of the group, and I think that's also very important. But yeah, well, this has been the chat back into the on a school night as well. I mean, it's not a school night for me, but yeah. I mean, what time is it there? 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. If I told you it was 5 a.m. in the morning where I am, would you believe me? God bless technology. Gotta love it. So, I mean, like I said, this has been quite a interesting trip down memory lane regarding my DJ career. At the moment, my main source of income, if you like, is what can I call it? Well, I haven't got any source of income at the moment because I've got I don't need one. But the point is I'm more interested in producing events and shows and designing stages than I am making music, if that makes any sense. Rummage through the archives. Lovely. So yeah, I mean, yeah, nice chatting to you. Well, I mean, I'm the one doing all the chatting, by the way. So yeah, we'll have to sort that out straight away. Yeah, you take care, man, and let's. It's good to hear people from back in the day, because those were I had a lot of great times when I went to Glasgow, and when I went up north. It didn't last long. It lasted the length of a track, so it lasted about 4 months before people were waiting for the next track. And of course, during that time, my relationship with my partner wasn't very good, so I knew that there wasn't going to be another Brainwash, because I wrote Brainwash and I wasn't prepared to write any more with that particular person as my partner. So it was a good time and a bad time at the time, but it was great regarding the amount of people that I met and the amount of talent and the amount of vibes were there. It was really good. And I've got the video somewhere. I'll put it up on the channel, and you can have a look. I've got the I think it is up there, and I don't know if I got a copyright strike on it because of the guys that filmed it, because it wasn't me that filmed it. We were on stage, but somebody else had filmed it. So anyway, I'll try and dig it out, and I'll re-what's it. I'll put another track under it, and we'll see. People have asked me if I want to remix Brainwash for 2020, but what are you going to call it? Jesus. Vaccine mix or something. I don't know. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to try and reboot this drive. Not reboot, clone it. And then I've got to install a couple of games that I've downloaded. One is Marvels and the other one is Red Redemption, which is very good, apparently. Yeah, you can go... You're in the Wild Wild West, and you can go up to horses and punch them in the face. It's like Grand Theft Auto, but in the Wild West. Anyhow, nice to talk to you, David, and all the best, man. And yeah, feel free. I'm streaming. Usually I stream over the weekends, Saturday, Sunday night, about 5 to 7, that kind of time. Feel free to drop by, and we'll try and arrange a proper chat where we don't start on one subject and finish on another one. So at the moment, there isn't a specific subject for these kind of chats. I feel like Kanye West. Did you hear Kanye West on Joe Rogan the other day? My Lord. If you want to laugh, have a listen to Kanye West on the Joe Rogan podcast, if that's something that you're into. But wow, that guy's got a lot to say for himself. Anyway, I guess it's because he lives with 6 women. He can't get a word in edgeways at home, can he? Easy. Anyway, right, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you all, and good luck with your turbos tomorrow. And thanks, David, for the trip down memory lane. And keep on rocking, guys. And I shall see you on the next time. Let's maybe say Saturday. Yeah. See you soon, fuckers. Bye.